Alright, brush monkeys, we are back, and this week we are looking at the Log Leech from Grenadier Miniatures, Dragon Lords, Horrors of the Marsh box set. Number 2010 came out in 1983. 1983 was apparently a good year for box sets because I had a bunch of them. This is another one that I'm sure I have the box set because I clearly have the figure. I just don't know where the rest of them are. So I'm not going to be doing the entire box set, but this guy was stripped, and so I thought he was kind of interesting looking. I'm going to go ahead and paint him. And it looks like some kind of disgusting little leech kind of thing bursting up out of the swamp. So he's going to be interesting to paint. I've got a couple of ideas for him, and I think he's going to be a fun one. But again, he's got a fairly limited palette because he's a swamp creature, so there's going to be a lot of greens and browns and that kind of thing. I've got some kind of pinkish purple for the inside of his mouth, the suckers there, because usually with creatures like that, they've got some kind of color on the inside to attract prey. And then the basing is going to be as usual, orc flesh green with Agrax Earthshade wash, niblet green dry brush, and a dark green base. So I think he's going to be fun. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here and get started on him, and then we'll come back and take a look at him. Alright, see you soon. Alright, brush monkeys, we've made some progress here. Very little progress, but it's some progress. I painted Death Guard green on the Log Leech itself on his back, and then Death World Forest on the inside of where he's kind of splashing up out of the muck. The outside of where he's splashing up out of the muck is going to be the orc flesh, so it's all going to look like it was kind of a just a smooth area of kind of mossy swamp, and then he comes splashing up out of it. The outside of the Log Leech, I'm going to be painting dryad bark stripes on him, kind of give him a little bit of added camouflage, and then I'm going to shade wash the whole thing with Athonian camo shade. The inside and outside of the swamp splash here is all going to be shade washed with Agrax Earthshade, and then the inside of its mouth here I'm using poison purple or leech purple. This was a kind of a pinkish purple from way back in the day. This is one of the original Citadel colors. It's oddly enough still a viable paint. And barely. I'm almost out of it. That was my old beast mouth purple, and the new stuff I got looked a little too pink. I wanted it to be a more subtle pink, and so I'm going to use that stuff and then shade wash it with the contrast Magos purple here, and then probably go back in and layer it with that again, just to pick out all those little circles, little suckers on there. And then, like I said, the base is going to be all the outside of the splash, and the basing itself is going to be orc flesh green, which is kind of a really bright green. And then I will shade wash that with the Agrax Earthshade to tone it down a little bit. Hit the highlights with niblet green, and then paint that base band with my usual Vallejo heavy black green. And then after I matte seal it, I'm probably going to go in and do the inside of the splash and the inside of the I may just do just the inside of the Log Leech's mouth with gloss varnish, just to give it that wet look. I might do the splash to the little swamp bits, just to give it like I said, an added little wet look to it. But for right now, the Death Guard green and Death World Forest green are both still wet, so I'm going to go ahead and let those dry, and then we'll come back and start it on the camouflaging of it. So we'll see you soon. Bye. Alright, I've made some progress on our Log Leech here. As you can see, I've got the base coat done. I've got the brown stripes painted on its back as a little bit of camouflage, and I've got it shade washed with the Athonian camo shade, so it's a little bit darker. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and paint the mouth here, and then we'll come back and take a look at it. Like I said, it's a pretty fast paint. It's pretty limited palette too, so there's not a whole lot to it, and it's going to go by fairly quick. So we'll go ahead and get that painted up, and then we'll come back and take a look at it once the inside is done. All right, see you soon. Bye. All right, brush monkeys, I made some progress on our Log Leech here. As you can see, I did all the outer green that he's splashing up out of, the swamp green, in the orc flesh, and I painted the inside of his mouth sucker area, and got that shade washed with the Magus purple. I think I'm probably going to dry brush this really lightly just to bring out all the suckers with this luscious lilac, just to kind of add an extra little layer of depth. And speaking of adding depth, the inside of the gunk that he's jumping out of, I have shade washed with, well, not really shade washed, but washed with contrast plague bearer flesh. And I'm kind of toying with the idea of doing the entire thing that way, but I think I think just doing it on the inside gives enough of a kind of a slimy look to it. It's pretty gross. And these little bits on the outside here, and then when the contrast paint dries, I will go over all of that inside and outside with the Agrax Earthshade. So I'm going to take a break right now and let all this dry, and then when we come back, we'll dry brush the inside of that and wash all this with Agrax Earthshade, and we'll be closer to being done. Alright, see you soon. Bye. Alright, brush monkeys, we're back, and I have shade washed the whole base with the Agrax Earthshade inside and out of the little splash zone here, and it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with how that came out. Couple little spots of mist there. The inside particularly looks really good. And then I dry brushed the inside of the leech itself, all these little suckers, with the luscious lilac. Citadel dry paint, and I think you'll agree it looks pretty good. It doesn't stand out terribly bad from the background. It definitely looks like it's part of it, but it helps all those little suckers stand out without being too obtrusive. It looks a little more obvious on camera than it does in real life. In real life, it's kind of really nice, kind of subtle effect on there. So yeah, so our Log Leech is coming along pretty nicely. The only thing left to do now is when the base dries, I'm going to dry brush the texture paint part of it with a little bit of Niblet green here. I might do just a little bit of the outside of the splash area, just to kind of blend it in a little bit. And then painting the base band with the dark green. So I think this is going to be the last update you get before this guy is completely done. So he's looking pretty good. I really like how this one's coming out. The next one is the next one's going to be this thing called a Shriller, which is kind of a swampy mushroom looking guy here. And with the exception of the cap of the mushroom itself, the rest of it's going to be kind of a similar color palette. We'll just swap out a couple of colors and do this guy in the same scheme. And I think it's going to look really good. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here and let that finish drying, and then when we come back, we'll see what this guy looks like completely done. Alright, see you then. Bye. Alright, brush monkeys, I know I said the next time you see our Log Leech, he's going to be completely done, and he almost is. But I wanted to take a second and talk about Tufts. different kinds of tufts you can put on the base, and I'm going to put a couple on our guy here. Specifically, I'm going to do these ones from Gamer's Grass, and the reason for that is you can see they're kind of similar to the Army Painter tufts. Use the same color, kind of dark brown base, lighter brown highlights on them, that kind of thing. And that's kind of why I'm going with this. But the reason specifically I'm going for these is the Army Painter tufts are great. Don't get me wrong. They come, you know, you get 77 of them for the price. You only get 70 out of the Gamer's Grass. But the Army Painter tufts come in 3 different sizes, but they're all round. You can see they're all neat little round circles, which is fine. Most of the time, if you're just putting one tuft on a figure, that's perfectly acceptable. But grass doesn't grow in neat little round clusters like that. I realize that makes it easier to fit a bunch of them on the page, and you can select which size you want to match your figure, but it looks unnatural. Okay, and so for the swamp base, I'm using Gamer's Grass ones. Come in all different shapes, and some are angles, so if you need to fit around the base of a figure, you could do that. I use these a lot to cover up the old Grenadier and Ralph Partha figures have, and some of the Reaper ones too, have an integral base to them. And so when you put that on a larger round base like one of these, then you've got a little lift between the plastic base and the integral base on the figure. And so a lot of times the texture paste can kind of spackle that difference in, but these will cover that up as well. And you can put these along, find one that kind of fits the curve of the part of the base that you're trying to hide, and it fits really nicely. So I'm going to use a couple of these, plus the fact that they grow in the fact that they're in irregular patches kind of helps sell the illusion that this is an actual plant and not a very neatly cultivated little garden. So I'm going to use a couple of these on our Log Leech here, but you'll see that when I get them finished. So okay, that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to talk about the different kinds of tufts that you can get. The Gamer's Grass tufts are about $6 at your local game store. The Army Painter ones are about $7. So Gamer's Grass are even cheaper, but there again, you're getting 70 versus 77. So maybe that's where the extra dollar goes. Anyway, like I said, next time you see our Log Leech, he's going to be completely done, and you'll have some of these tufts on him, and he'll look all spiffy. So I will see you soon. Bye. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is our finished Log Leech. He looks pretty spiff. I like how those tufts kind of conform to the spaces around him. And look like he's splashing up out of the swamp. He looks really good. I'm going to go home done. And next week we'll be starting on another swamp creature, a Shriller, which uses a kind of similar palette. So I think it'll be a fairly quick paint. But for right now, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Bye. Hey Brush Monkeys, Tom from Flying Monkey Studios here. If you like what you see, click like down below. If you want to be notified when new videos come out, click subscribe. And in the meantime, if you want to see how to add one of the miniatures that we've painted on this channel to your own collection, check out our Instagram, Tumblr, and Patreon sites. If you want to support us in doing what we do, check out my Patreon site. Check out my merch store at storefrontier.com/flymonkeystudios. You can get t-shirts, sweatshirts, long sleeve shirts, hoodies, all kinds of stuff there. Go check that out. And in the meantime, thanks for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.